Hey guys, this is Andre Touchy Feely. You're listening to the Verbal Scrap Podcast. Let's get weird.
This is the Shark, Anthony Avalou. You're listening to Verbal Scrap.
This is Keto Andrews, and you're listening to the Verbal Scrap Podcast. This is Nan Fan, and you're listening to the Verbal Scrap Podcast. I'm a fighter. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to fight.
Hey, this is Dave Hirschbein, MMA Gold, and you're listening to the Verbal Scrap.
I've worked so hard to do what I got to do in here. I took so much blood for this sport. I took so much pain, everything for the sport.
Hey, y'all, this is Zeke Johnston. You're listening to SRMMA.com Verbal Scrap. Stay tuned. They got some good stuff coming up.
We have some great stuff coming up today on the 40th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast, also known as the best 40th episode, period. I'm here in studio with Shro. Once again, my awesome co-host. How you doing today, sir?
As always, buddy, it's good to be in, lending a hand.
Lending a hand, you're really lending a voice. Your hands don't do anything while you're on this show.
Well, they click on a computer and stuff.
Yeah, but
it is
utterly
more of a voice.
Useless. But the voice, Shro, is also here. We'll call him the icon. We're here on the 40th episode. If you like what you're hearing, you're probably checking us out on SRMA.com. We are a comprehensive combat coverage website. We do everything from MMA, boxing. You'll be hearing a lot of that stuff today. We got all kinds of news. Local news here in the Sacramento area. We also got some nationwide news. KOTC, King of the Cage. We were live covering the Tank Abbott return as the Fighting Legends took place April 13th out in Norville, California. We got some interviews from that. World Series of Fighting news with Angel Deonda set to fight this June on national television. He was here to talk to us about his upcoming fight and what it's going to do for him. And let me tell you, it's a huge opponent. We'll get to that later. We got World Combat Series. One of the biggest things we got talking today is UFC. There's a lot of UFC that went on the past 2 weeks. Definitely two shows. But we'll be getting into that today on the 40th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast, brought to you by MMA Gold, Midtown Village Cafe, and always check out onefitbody.net for more information. So, first, we have to talk Tough 17. It seems only right. It happened a week before. April 13th. Uriah Hall, the always scary, the dangerous, in the ring with Gaslam. He actually didn't do too bad. I thought that the man Hall looked pretty scary at times, but he wasn't able to pull out a victory. So let's first hear the highlights, and then we'll get into some more discussion.
Folks, like we said, we're here also to crown a new Ultimate Fighter. We did that tonight. Is it the high-flying Uriah Hall or the upset special, Kelvin Gastelum, guys?
And this fight right here, man, was incredible because you see Gastelum come out. He's crying at the beginning of this fight with emotions. He's like, I made it. And here comes Superman punch thrown over the top. The overhand right was a big weapon for him, but really it was the takedowns and the wrestling and the forward pressure. I had an idea that this might be a problem for Uriah Hall to deal with, and it was. The forward pressure shut down a lot of Gastelum, a lot of Uriah's stuff. But look at this suplex he hits. He grabs around the waist and throws him right onto his neck. No problem at all.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was a shame for Uriah because he got so much hype going into this fight, you know, and I think he kind of felt the need to live up to that pressure and perform. He went out there trying to put on a somewhat Anderson Silva-like performance, you know.
This is the third round. Somebody had to steal it here in the third round, guys.
Power double.
Gastelum at the end. There you go. You called for it.
I think it was the hustle that really won this fight for Gastelum. He's like, I want this fight. I want it more than anybody. I'm just going to hustle these takedowns. I'm going to hustle the pressure, and I'm going to shut down all the quick, speedy striking of Uriah Hall, and he did.
There's so much to talk about here. Number one, the youngest competitor ever on the Ultimate Fighter. Obviously, it makes him the youngest competitor to win the Ultimate Fighter.
For the first time.
He was 21 years old. He was able to pull out the victory. What did you think about the performance that Gastelum was able to pull out and get the six-figure contract?
He did what he needed to do, and I was actually, well, first of all, I have to give him crap because there's no crying and fighting. You can't cry.
He was so happy he won.
I know.
He was so happy.
I got so much money and opportunity now.
And he's 21 years old. What do you think about the youth?
I think the youth is a huge advantage, and right now he needs to use some of that money and start paying to go to camps to learn as much as he can, because honestly, I think he got lucky with Hall. Hall lost that fight himself in the first round.
Even if you think he got lucky with Hall, though, he beat all those other dudes on the show.
He did beat all the other dudes.
And
to get
one of the guys
and actually,
he beat...
everybody he was the last guy to get picked on the show, right?
Exactly. And another cool thing in local news around here is Keto Andrews going to be fighting Max Griffin May 3rd, West Coast Fighting. He actually lost to Kelvin to get into the house. That's the guy he lost to. So the guy that won the whole show is the guy that stopped Keto from getting into the house, which I think actually is kind of a cool thing to say. Well, if I'm going to get beat,
I got beat by the best.
I got beat by the best dude in the house, which is pretty cool. I wanted to give a shout out to our fans and stuff. Anyone checking us out right now, really appreciate you listening to us. If you're checking us out on iTunes, you can download us anytime. It'll just pop up right when you open iTunes. How cool is that? With all your other ESPN, all kinds of podcasts. Subscribe to us, download us on iTunes, check out our RSS feed, and do more. Last thing I wanted to ask you, what do you think about the ability of Hall when he was getting pressured by Gastelum? You know, he was able to get some good shots in, but it didn't seem like he was able to do a lot of the more fearsome things he was doing on the show.
And that's what I was surprised by. He just seemed to have trouble creating distance because we've obviously seen with his massive knockouts that's where it comes from. He separates, makes distance, and then just whether it's with a leg kick or with the spinning miraculous kick to the head,
which were all vicious.
Yeah.
Well, main event of the evening was Uriah Faber, Sacramento's own, in the main event against Scott Jorgensen. I loved, if you were checking out SRMA.com, you saw a little video we put up that had Uriah Faber talking to Dominic Cruz about the math. And he said, well, I'm number 2, so if I beat this guy, that makes me still number 2, which was great. So let's hear the highlights before we talk more.
Right now, it was our main event. Uriah Faber, ranked number 2 in the world, took on number 7, Scott Jorgensen. Dominic, I think it's appropriate you take us through it.
You know, Faber went out there and did a lot of things right, especially in the first round. He came out, he kept Jorgensen on his heels, was throwing a lot of combinations, the good power uppercuts. Something Faber does real well is he sets up all his power shots. He never just throws one. He always sets it up. He reaches, he moves his shoulders to set it up, whatever it may be. But really, the tail of this fight was the grappling. Faber just showed his sharpness. He was able to stuff every takedown of Scott Jorgensen and counter wrestle to create his wrestling or his jiu-jitsu scrambles. Use all those guillotines that he's got. He's got a whole sequence that he uses to keep position and keep the submission going. That whizzer was a big thing for him to stop a lot of Scotty's takedowns. But more than anything, I was impressed with the takedowns of Faber on the striking timing. He was able to time Jorgensen's strikes and get that takedown and also land some big shots till he got the finish.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I thought Uriah Faber would win the fight, but rounds 2 and 3, 3 and 4, Jorgensen really came back. Scott was doing well. You know, he started beating him to the punch, stuffing the takedowns.
Uriah Faber the end right here,
why he was a former champion and why he might be champion again in the future.
Nice little dig right there on Dominic as Dominic gets nice and uncomfortable with us. Again, Uriah Faber there now. Second time he has fought in about 7 weeks. Ups his UFC record 14-2, but 16 submission wins. That is impressive.
Was it as impressive to you, sir?
It was indeed, and the thing that impresses me most and was actually kind of scaring me a little bit is like he's the pure example of Jekyll and Hyde I think that we have in the UFC because he's such a nice guy outside the ring and like he grew up in the hippie family and stuff like that, and then you see him get in the ring and just utterly tenacious, and I love seeing that back in him. There was about, a year or so ago, he was that issue with his sister in that accident. Understandably, I think that derailed him a little bit, and maybe his mind wasn't full on.
But now
fighting.
He's got 2 in a row, you know.
But now you can tell his mind's full into fighting, and he wants to have that belt around his waist.
I think
again.
he really wants to fight Dominic Cruz.
I think he really wants that too. So, or Barrow again. You know, so whoever's. I don't.
To be fair, I don't think anyone wants to fight Barrow ever.
ever. He's just really good.
Just saying, that guy's real. It's like saying, like, hey, you want to fight Aldo 3 times? But yeah, I wouldn't want to do it once.
But yeah, that ultimately, I love seeing that sort of sociopath side of Uriah Faber again, because once he gets in the ring and that cage is locked, it's like, oh my God, I remember you were so nice and now you're mean.
Well, speaking of Uriah Faber and Ultimate Fitness down there on 17th and I, 2 blocks away is Midtown Village Cafe on 19th and I. They got all kinds of goods for you, full fighter service menu. They got sandwiches, quinoa salad. I mean, that's just fun to say, is it not?
High in protein.
Check them out. They got all kinds of good stuff for you. MidtownVillageCafe.com for more. We're going to get into one more thing from Tough 17. Kat Zingano and Miesha Tate. I know you must have been excited thinking about this one, Tro.
I was indeed, because actually I'm a big Miesha Tate fan, and I wanted to see her get back into it, and she looked like a Tasmanian devil, but...
Oh, she looked real good. Well, let's hear the highlights, and we'll get into some more.
This one was a big one. First time ever on the Fox family, we had a women's MMA event. Miesha Tate, Kat Zingano, the winner, has a chance to fight Ronda Rousey and also coach the next season of The Ultimate Fighter on Fox Sports 1, our new station.
And no matter what happens, this fight made both these ladies better athletes, better fighters. You see Miesha Tate comes out super hard in that first round, says, I'm making a statement, I'm going to finish this girl in the first. And Zingano just comes with those knees. Those knees are a huge weapon for her. It was obviously game plan. Now, after she gets the takedown, Miesha Tate, she just throws some mean ground and pound, keeps Zingano flat on her back with some good third-point pressure, goes for the armbar in the second round, and Zingano defends very well. She starts going back towards the armbar, but is able to fight out of it, end up reversing Miesha Tate, and now she puts the beat down on, coming the second and third round. In the third round, she's pretty bloodied up, both of them. And then they come out, Zingano goes for the takedown right off the bat, as her corners call for, says, wrestle, 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 your wrestling's better than this girl. Add some dirty wrestling to it, a little Cain Velasquez style with the knees and the punches from the tight waist, and she finishes the fight with the elbow. Beautiful finish, and you know what, I kind of like being proven wrong. That was an awesome fight, and it's always good to see the underdog come through.
And Kat Zingano got more and more violent, and that's who she will face next for the Bantamweight Championship of the World. Also our fan cameo question tonight. But how about this? Kat Zingano is yet to lose. 8-0, fourth win via KO or TKO.
What did you think about that one?
That last elbow scared the crap out of me. That was just such punishment, man. After those, three straight knees that made it right on target, and then that elbow, that was scary. Big props to Zingano to have the composure, because like I said before, the highlights there, Tate, she's a Tasmanian devil, man. She is relentless, her pressure. So well done on being composed and then just waiting for your moment.
Well, you're currently listening to the 39th, the 40th. The 40th. The best 40th show, period. Period at srmma.com on the Verbal Scrap Podcast. We are here with Shro and Jawa in studio. We got a lot of stuff coming up. UFC on Fox 7 discussion. We got a lot of local things this way, and one of the first things I wanted to get into was King of the Cage, but we're going to get into that after this quick thing I wanted to go through since we're talking about Zingano. She's going to be now on The Ultimate Fighter, Tough Season 18. You had a few thoughts about that show. Go ahead.
Yeah, before the show, I was talking to you about it because I hadn't heard anything just yet. And what I know from Tough is the coaches are never coaching people in their weight class because, A, why would you want to coach someone that's later going to try and challenge you? And B, when you want to have someone train you, you want to generally have a bigger person, push you a little bit farther. So that's my question is all we have now is a bantamweight. So
were they going to make some more?
Yeah, why would Ronda Rousey want to train someone that's ultimately going to try and fight him and take her belt away? So before the show, went ahead and jumped on and found an article on USAtoday.com, and it does look like there's a quote. Dana White says, more than likely, you're going to see more UFC women's divisions coming up here. And I can only assume that it's going to happen. And the filming for this Tough 18 is going to start here in May. So most likely, people following that, you're probably going to see that it's going to be 125 flyweight division. I can only assume.
Well, I mean, they're only so big. I mean, I'm not seeing a super heavyweight female division anytime soon.
I don't want to see a super heavyweight female.
That's a whole nother discussion for maybe the 41st episode.
Let's skip over that.
But moving on to King of the Cage, Fighting Legends, April 13th, on the same day that the Tough 17 finale was going down. A lot of local live coverage was happening. SRMA was in Oroville at the Gold Country Casino covering Tank Abbott versus Ruben Villarreal, the main event of the evening. It was crazy because it was interesting that Tank Abbott was making his return. Just because, I mean, do you really have to explain? It's Tank Abbott. He's going to be fighting again.
Yeah,
I want to be there.
I want to watch this
I'd like
guy.
to see that.
He's a legend.
And if you want now, you can check out srma.com for some photos. Big shout out to middleeasy.com, and also some people posted in MMA Share and all kinds of stuff like that about posted our photos from SRMA. So really big shout out to you guys. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate the share and the coverage and the love. So right back at you guys. King of the Cage, Villarreal was able to TKO Tank Abbott in the second round, the first time Tank ever made it out. And Jay Weil, your boy, was there to talk to him. So let's hear what the main event fighter had to say.
This is Jay Watt from SRMA.com. We're here live at King of the Cage, Fighting Legends, victorious post-fight, Warpath Villarreal. I mean, all the hype coming in seemed to be, about Tank Abbott's return, but a lot of people kind of overlooked what you're able to bring to the cage. I mean, now that the fight's over, what do you think about the whole event and what Tank was able to bring your way?
Well, I'll tell you what, brother. I took this fight super serious. I trained real hard because that's Tank. That's a legend. He deserves nothing but the best and in my most respect. And I'll tell you what, when we got in, it was like holding on a Brahma bull. He is just so freaking strong. And any one of those hits could knock out a freaking telephone pole. So I was just worried. I had a good game plan. Try to beat him to the punches, stay fast. Let's wear him out a little bit. And it just paid off, bro.
Well, it looked like he had a little surprise in his game plan, too. He wanted to go for the takedown early. A lot of people may not have expected that. I mean, did you expect that? And once he landed it, what were you thinking in that position?
Oh, no. When I saw him weighing at 295, I knew that he was going to try to take me down in ground and pound because that's the best way you can do it. And he's got a great wrestling background. So I know for a fact that he was going to try to take me down. My plan of attack was just to stay confident, stay calm, and just put the pressure on him. So even though he's on top, he's got to work hard to keep me down.
Well, you've had a storied career. I mean, where do you put a Tank Abbott fight in your echelon of fights in your career so far?
My brother, he's a legend. If it wasn't for him, a lot of us wouldn't even be fighting today. He's the father of this freaking sport. When the rounds were 20 minutes long, when he had epic fights, epic battles, and I'll tell you what, just stepping in the ring with him is an honor. So that's where I hold it, bro.
Well, every champion celebrates differently. I mean, how do you go about celebrating a victory, and not only a victory over Tank Abbott, but one where you come out with the title?
And you know what, brother? I really appreciate winning the title. But a warrior's got to be ready for battle when it comes, period. And I've just been very blessed, very, very blessed. So to me, my celebration is I'd like to give a thanks to all the people that have had my back, giving me all this great love and respect. And you know what? I was blessed tonight. That's something simple as that. It's the people around me and my creator that just looked out for me today.
We can find post-fight coverage at srma.com. Thank you for talking to us, Ruben.
No problem. My pleasure. My honor.
We're back on the 40th episode of Verbal Scrap, our King of the Cage coverage brought to you by West Coast Nutrition. Check out their supplements and more at WCNstores.com. Also at the King of the Cage event, Daniel Domination Price did just that, came back dominated with he lulled him to sleep with the jab, was able to sink in a quick takedown and choked him out. So let's hear his post-fight coverage.
It's Jay Watt from SRMA.com. We're here live at King of the Cage, Fighting Legends, victorious Daniel Price. How does it feel to go into King of the Cage like this with the guys like you just watched, Trevor Prangley and Tank Abbott going to be on the card and come out and pull a victory like that? That's really dominant.
Yeah, it's awesome. I knew going into this it was going to be on live pay-per-view, so I knew I had to step up my game, and I know I'm in front of the hometown crowd. I wasn't going to let them down, so I just came in with the game plan, and I stuck exactly to the game plan like we discussed, and it worked out great.
Well, you said after the fight that you implored the Daniel Price double leg. I mean, it was really quick. You were able to kind of lull him to sleep and shoot in there and take his back. I mean, is that something you had planned on or you saw during the fight?
That was the exact plan. I knew I've been working on my boxing for 5 years, and I think I proved now that I'm a boxer too. I really wanted to show people that I have hands, and I showed it today, and then the opening was there. I lulled him to sleep with the jab, and finally the opening was there, so I took it.
Well, you gave a lot of praise to Team Carnage. I mean, can you talk about training camp and the build-up to this fight and what it meant to you to have guys like Jaime Hara in there teaching you and being able to go through that grind with you?
The main thing was the confidence. I told Hara from the get-go, I want you in my corner for the mental confidence. The guy just vibrates confidence and competitiveness, and I knew that if I had him in my corner, I'd just have a mental edge on everybody, and that's what worked out.
Well, what did you think about the King of the Cage atmosphere? Coming out here, they got fans ready to go and a stacked card. I mean, what did you think about the event as a whole and being a part of it?
It was an excellent card. It's one of the best cards I've been a part of. As far as running smoothly, treating the fighters good, everything was awesome.
Do you have any final shout-outs before we let you go?
Just to Al, thank you for putting me on the card, and I can't wait to go for that title shot.
So you can find post-fight coverage at srma.com. Thank you for talking to us, Daniel.
Thanks, Johnny.
If you're checking out SRMMA.com, you may have already known that Eloy Garza of Team Last Stand was successful in coming out and getting a big TKO victory against Marcus Osagueta at King of the Cage. We were able to catch up with him after the fight, so let's hear Garza.
It's Jay Watt from SRMMA.com. We're here live at King of the Cage, fighting legends with victorious Eloy Garza. The fight seemed like he was ready and confident to come out and bang with you, and you were able to eventually weather his storm and dictate your own pace. I mean, what do you think about what you were able to do out there?
He came out, with the wrong game plan. He knew I was a striker. He knew I was going to stand and bang. I told everyone I was going to stand and bang, and he's not even a stand-up fighter. He said he was a wrestler and everything, and he played my game and he paid for it.
Well, as far as the finish is concerned, you were able to catch him with a stiff right, and it dazed him, and you were able to go in there and finish. I mean, a lot of guys might wait a second. What made you decide to go in there and go for the finish right at that moment?
Oh, I saw him. He was when he dropped. I looked. I stepped back a little bit just to see. I thought maybe he lost his footing, but when I looked, I saw his eyes, and I saw that he wasn't all there, so I went for the kill.
Well, how was training, at Last Stand coming into this bout and King of the Cage, being on a card with guys like Trevor Prangley and stuff like that? I mean, I know you want to go out there and perform well, so what was training camp coming into this one?
Training camp was hard. This is, I trained just as hard as I could. There's nothing else I could have done for this training camp. I trained hard, in every area, so I was prepared, so, yeah.
As far as King of the Cage is concerned, what do you think of the venue, the atmosphere, the fans, everybody in attendance is excited?
It was huge. It was beautiful. This is the biggest, organization I've ever fought for. I loved it. This is impressive. It really impressed me, and I wanted to just really got my adrenaline really going out there. Just like, oh man, look at all those people. Look at I'm up there on the video and everything. Yeah. It's cool. I've never been through that before, so I thought it was really cool. It really got me going.
Well, do you have any final shout-outs before we let you go?
Last Stand, baby. We're coming. That's it.
Well, you can check out post-fight coverage at SRMA.com. Thank you for talking to us. See you later.
Thanks, brother. Thank you.
In the amateur portion of the card, Justin Jones was defending his middleweight title at King of the Cage against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, the undefeated prospect, 10-0, five-time amateur champion. And Justin Jones uses wrestling to kind of outsize Hernandez, was able to get the back early on in the fight, and sunk in a rear naked choke, giving Hernandez his first defeat. We were able to catch up with the reigning champion after his bout, so let's hear Justin Jones.
This is Jay Watt from SRMA.com. We're here live at King of the Cage, fighting legends. Post-fight, victorious KOTC amateur middleweight champion Justin Jones. You were able to take out a really highly touted guy today, 10-0 Fluffy Hernandez. I mean, what do you think about the finish and the fight overall?
Well, I expected him to come out and try to strike with me, and then I figured once he feel my power, he'll try to take me down. But before that even happened, he decided he wanted to take me down already. And I know that's where my game is, just by size difference. I look bigger than him, so I figured he was going to try to take me to deeper rounds, but I don't know what he was thinking about trying to out-wrestle me.
Well, when you guys were on the ground, I mean, you were able to take the back, and it looked like it was very difficult for him to get you off of his back. Is that a position you train a lot? I mean, do you use your size in training in those type of positions to keep guys down?
Yes, I practice wrestling a lot in the gym. A lot of fighters don't practice wrestling. They don't think they need it for some reason in San Diego. But I believe you need it in this sport because that gives you the choice if you want to keep the fight standing or take it to the ground. Because if you're not the dominant wrestler, then the other guy has a choice if he wants to stand there on the ground. So I have the choice.
The title itself, I mean, what does it mean to you to have an amateur title in King of the Cage where you saw guys like Trevor Prangley and stuff fight tonight? I mean, a lot of respected fighters, and you have an amateur belt for KOTC. What does that mean to you?
Honestly, the belt really doesn't mean anything to me. I just don't want to lose. I want to beat the best in the world. I don't want to be fighting guys that are 3-2 and 5-6 and stuff like that. I want to fight people like him, that's 10-0, that's on the tear, that's 9-1, 8-0 and stuff. I don't want to fight rookies anymore. I want to test myself before I go pro.
Well, that's one of the last things I wanted to ask you. What do you think about the caliber of opponent you were able to beat? Another guy who has more victories than you, and you're able to dispatch of him in relatively quick fashion. I mean, what do you think that says about you and where you're at in your career?
It makes me feel really confident that I can beat someone at that level. And I think it's mainly a mental game too, because they look tough outside the ring and they're mad dogging you, but when you're in the ring, then you'll see what they really are. We start throwing punches at them, and then they start becoming hesitant and stuff. Then you'll know what they really are when the second round comes.
Well, last thing I want to ask you, any shout outs or anything before we let you go?
Nah, I don't got any shout-outs.
No problem. You can find post-fight coverage at SRMA.com. Thank you so much, amateur middleweight champ Justin Jones.
All right, thank you too.
And I want to give a big shout out to Jones. He's one of my favorite interviews in the world. So Thanks to him for talking to us and always finding time. Last interview from King of the Cage's Fighting Legends event. Jacob Smith opened the night in the amateur card with a huge 18-second head kick knockout that really put him on the map. And go ahead.
I heard that was pretty dangerous, that there were some paramedics involved.
It was definitely a scary scene after a while, just because, everybody, it's like a Uriah Hall knockout. You know what I mean? It's like everyone's like, wow, that was amazing. And then it's like, but that could be bad, so I don't want to cheer too much.
Yeah, and to open the night, that must have been a little bit surreal.
And, Jacob Smith actually spoke about this during his interview, so great segue, co-host Tro. Let's hear Mr. Smith.
This is JWoww from SRMA.com. We're here live at King of the Cage, Fighting Legends, post-fight with a victorious Jacob Smith. You were able to start off the card with a bang. I mean, what do you think about your performance and how quickly it went?
I honestly wasn't expecting it. My coach told me to be ready for a battle. He was an undefeated kickboxer, I believe 4-0, so I was expecting him to come out with the kicks, and I just kept a clear mind, and it worked out for me. I didn't really think too much. I just let my body do it all.
Well, as far as the striking was concerned, it looked like you were a lot more confident. You caught him off guard right away and just went in for the kill. I mean, what did you see for what he brought to you, and how were you able to use it against him?
Yeah, I don't really like to wait till someone, throws on me or anything. I kind of like to throw, maybe a feint or two to see where they move, and that's what happened is I threw a feint, saw where he moved, threw the right hand. Can't really remember too much. It happened so fast, but then I remember I threw a right hand, I saw him lean down, and I just didn't even think about it, just threw the kick, and it happened to catch him, and it was over before I knew it.
Well, what do you think about the King of the Cage atmosphere tonight? A lot of highly talented guys on the card, and you're able to start off the card and showcase your talents to the crowd.
It was funny because I was saying going into it I wanted to be first, and then I saw I was first, and I was like, yeah, you don't have to stir around in the back. You just get to get out there and do your business and watch the rest of the fights, because I'm a fan too. I like to watch the fights. I don't really go out to hurt anybody, so it's kind of, it's kind of sad to see him get carried out and stuff, but I know he'll be all right. I saw him talking and moving his head and stuff, so my prayers go out to him.
Well, that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Every fighter wants to get a spectacular finish, and you were able to go do that, but there's always that calming moment afterwards when a guy might be seriously injured. How do you deal with the celebration as well as taking that all in at one time? Because I know you got to be happy and kind of worried at the same time.
Yeah, of course, in the beginning, you're just super excited because it's over, and, going into a fight, all you want to do is fight and it be over. I don't know anyone that wants to just, fight and fight and fight and fight. You want to finish, right? So once I finished, I was excited, and then when I walked around and saw him still on the ground, I kind of, I'm a human, I have a soul. I feel, I feel for him because that could be anybody, Could be me.
Exactly.
So.
Well, on the card tonight, last couple of things I wanted to ask you. You got Tank Abbott on the card, Trevor Prangley. I mean, are you going to be watching any of these fights with anticipation?
Oh, yeah, dude. It's very exciting. I was in the back talking to Tank and Trevor. They don't really talk much, They're the veterans, so... They're the veterans, so it was cool to see Tank. He kind of just said, what's up, Same thing with Trevor Prangley. You could tell they're a lot calmer than a lot of the amateurs. They're back there laying down, so I kind of paid attention to them to see what they do, because you always want to mimic the guys that have been around for a while because, they know what they're doing. So,
the last thing I wanted to ask you, have any shout-outs or anything before we let you go?
Yeah, I want to shout out to my coach, Sam Sleazer. I mean, we started in a barn, and now we're opening up a gym in Red Bluff, True Fitness, so we've come a long way. I'm really happy all my friends and family are here, and a lot of people from my school came, and it was a big event, so I was definitely nervous, but it was good to hear the crowd roar for me in the beginning. It gave me a sense of confidence, so I'm really happy about that.
Well, you can find post-fight coverage at SRMA.com. Thank you for talking to us, Jacob.
Thank you, sir.
Also on SRMA.com, I know you checked out the OPP's Bash and Bike Show 2 results. For our man Angelo Villa, who was able to cover it post-fight, photography by Kim Washington. Great job by those guys. We got some interviews for you. I was able to speak to John Abella, who was taking on Salvador Ciu-Fuentes. I spoke to him at the weigh-in event. So let's hear what he had to say pre-fight about his coming main event fight.
It's JWoww from SRMA.com. We're here live at the weigh-ins for the upcoming Bike and Bash Part 2 event. John Abella, you're going to be in the main event of the evening. It's the weigh-in time. I'm sure you're probably ready to just get the weigh-in over, get some food in your belly. How you feeling?
Actually, I'm more just ready to drink something.
Well, your opponent is a rematch. I mean, what do you think about the first matchup, how it ended, and what are your thoughts about coming into this one?
It's hard to say. It feels like it's just my first time fighting him again, The first one ended in the second round, so it really wasn't much of a fight. I know one thing from it, though. I know he's wild, so that's about it. I know he throws a lot of hooks, leads with his head.
Well, you know, if he's been able to see you and you've been able to see him, and do you think that there's anything he can take away from the last fight and use it against you in this fight, or have you been changing it?
I think the only thing he might try to do is press the issue, but it's not really going to work in his favor by pressing the issue because I'm going to sharpshoot. So.
Well, being here, Sacramento, I mean, you're going to be fighting once again in the hometown. What's it feel to have all these fights in Sacramento? And when do you eventually feel like you'll be able to take fights, you know, away from town? And what's your game plan for that?
Right now, I want to keep it at home. You know, I'm still really young in my career. When the time's right, you know, when the right fight comes about, then I'll go somewhere, you know. But as of right now, you know, this is my home crowd, my territory, where I want to build my fan base. So this is where I want to stay for a while.
Well, last thing I wanted to ask you, you know, being able to see him before, do you feel like you're going to be able to get a finish tonight, like you said, in the later rounds, or do you feel like more and more confident of something else coming your way?
I think I'm going to pick him apart and finish him probably anywhere between the 4th and the 6th.
We can find post-fight coverage at srma.com. Thank you for talking to us, John.
Thank you.
Also on the card, Larry Psycho Ward was able to pull out a knockout victory against debuting MMA fighter making his move also in the boxing world, Scott Rosa. Angelo Villa caught up with him post-fight, so let's hear Ward's thoughts on his knockout victory.
This is Angelo Villa from SRMA.com. I'm here with Larry Psycho Ward. Tremendous victory tonight. Talk us through the combination that ended the fight.
Well, my coach kept saying, throw 1-2, throw 1-2. And I was looking for it, but I couldn't throw it. When I finally threw it, I caught him with the left. And then I think I caught him with a hook after that, then he fell down, and I knew he wasn't getting back up.
You shot a really good sharp right hook coming out of that southpaw stance. That's what got him. It was a tremendous shot. What's the future hold for you?
The sky's the limit. The sky's the limit.
And I'll just point this out to be fair to everyone. I just figured out when his interview was playing what Psycho, in reference to his last name, Ward, meant.
There you go. The light bulb, you know.
I'm just saying. It came on for me, so I get it. Big shout out to Ward for his victory and giving us some time. Last interview from the card, Oscar Vasquez was able to pull out a unanimous decision victory. You can check it out at srma.com. Also find us on iTunes and more. Oscar Vasquez pulled out the unanimous decision, beat Don Jose, and caught up with Villa after the fight, so let's hear Vasquez.
This is Angelo Villa from SRMMA.com. I'm here with Oscar Vasquez, victorious tonight. Tremendous performance. Talk us through the fight.
I was just trying to fill him out the first round. I maybe gave it away, maybe not. It was really halfway, maybe 10-10. But, you know, I didn't feel no punch. So that's why I kept encouraging him to come because I want to put him out. You know, I want to catch him real good because I know I hurt him a lot. And I hurt him a lot in the liver shot, which is real good for me. The liver shot, I practice that a lot, and I think that's why I won the fight, because of the liver shot, the body work I did, up, down, constantly throughout the whole fight. It was up, down. It was never just up. No, it was up, down. So that's why I won.
You really turned the corner in the third round. You were really working off that left hook to the body and coming up top. That really turned the corner for you. Was that the strategy going in?
Yes, that was the strategy going in. I know that anybody gets hit real good in the body, they're going to crumble. They're going to crumble, maybe not the first time, but the second, third, fourth, fifth, they'll crumble, and that's what did it for me.
And what's the future hold for you? When's the next time we're going to see you fight?
Oh, man, if this guy can have me, I heard he's having a June 22nd show here again. If I can come back here, a lot of those fans really love me, and here in Sacramento, and I'm from Reno, so I'll be back anytime. If I get them month by month, I'm good. It just depends on the quality of the fighter and everything.
Well, thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're on the 40th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast. We'd like to thank you guys for listening and staying tuned to SRMA.com coverage. We still got a lot to talk about. UFC on Fox 7 coming up. World Combat Series preview as well as NCC preview. World Series of Fighting. He's going to be talking to us about his upcoming fight against Tyrone Spong. That's right. Angel Deonda is going to be fighting him on June 14th on NBC Sports Network. He's going to be talking to us about it. So much in store for you here on the Verbal Scrap Podcast. But we're going to get into a little promo from one of our favorite musical guests, Legion's Requiem. So let's check him out.
This is Jay Watt from SRMMA.com. We're talking to Stephen Ward, lead man of Legion's Requiem. You got a big show coming up. Tell us more.
Come check us out at the Boardwalk, May 19th, Battle of the Bands. We're battling against 8 other bands from Sacramento. It's going to be awesome.
Well, how do fans vote for you if they want Legion's Requiem to win this battle?
Check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/Legion's Requiem Band, and buy a ticket from us. They're $12, and message us for a ticket.
We're also here with lead man Zach Warland of Legion's Requiem. Tell us, do you believe fans should check out this awesome show?
Yes!
SRMA.com.
And if that promo wasn't metal enough for you, listen to their music.
All right, everybody, that was Legion's Requiem. And if you want to come out for their show May the 19th, remember, get tickets and support them through Facebook/LegionsRequiemBand.com. Right now, I want to derail and interrupt Johnny Wah's show here real quick because a lot of you people know he's a good journalist, but you don't know that he's actually got a plethora of opinions and a plethora of ideas. So now we're going to go into a quick segment we're going to call Firing Line. 3 quick questions for Johnny Wah. First one, buddy. Overall, how satisfied are you with the first? We're coming up on the 2-year anniversary of the marriage between UFC and Fox. Overall, how satisfied are you with their marriage?
Well, off the top of my head, I would say I'm pretty satisfied. maybe not so much as a consumer, but I'm satisfied for the growth. I'm satisfied that a lot of people see it. I'm satisfied that, you know, people can talk about it, or that at least I can be talking about someone, about MMA to someone, and if they're like, well, yeah, I'm probably not going to check it out. Hey, it's on Fox, or it's on Fuel TV. Maybe you could check it out if you want. It's a lot easier. I do like that. I think what you were saying on the last show, in the 39th episode, about there being so many places, like Fuel TV, or you got to get new channels, that's kind of weird. But then they started doing the new Fox Sports 1 and moving a lot of stuff around. So I think they're already ahead of your thought process on that one.
Which, by the way, actually, no, I don't know if ahead. They were just listening to the show and they're like, damn, they're right. Let's put this thing together real quick because we're pissing off Shro.
Yeah, Shro's very mad.
So coming up next here, though, Uriah Hall. He had a huge bandwagon. I'm obviously on it. Even though he got derailed during the TUF finale, do you feel that Uriah Hall is going to have a title shot in 2014?
In the middleweight division? So we're assuming Anderson Silva would still be the champ. I would say that depends on
You can even give a percentage.
I would say
Doesn't
it
even have
depends
to be
on
yes or no.
on his mental state. If he has a good mental state, because at times during the show we saw, you know, where much like any other fighter, he struggles with confidence and stuff like that. But when he was really confident and feeling really good, he just went out there and did a good job and just excelled and was kind of free throwing. So I like that. I think if he's that guy, I would say there's a good 75% chance, 70-75, because the middleweight division is one of those divisions like the welterweight division that needs new blood because you got the top guy. You had like a heavyweight division. They're rotating. They got good guys, but they're rotating and light heavyweight. But there's two divisions that need new blood, and everyone wants to see new fights. I think if Uriah Hall finishes a couple top guys in the middleweights, maybe early 14, maybe two top guys, people would at least talk about it. And he said he would take a top 10 fight. So, yeah, I would say there's a 70-75% chance he gets a title shot in 2014.
All right, last question for you coming up then. And anybody that wants to ask Johnny Juan a question, just email me, shro@srmma.com, and we'll ask your questions for Johnny Juan on the air. Last one, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here because we haven't talked about it, but Benson Henderson, Gilbert Melendez, a split decision? The way I saw that, that was unanimous in my point of view for Henderson. What, in your opinion, what can be done to make the judging better?
Well, without going over the highlights yet, which we'll be doing next for the UFC on Fox 7, I would say that the judging, it's weird. When you're hanging out with your buddies and chilling with your friends or with people that, whether they know the sport or don't, you kind of tend to think along the lines of what they're thinking. And so when there's like 5 or 6 guys watching a fight, it's easy to eventually come to a consensus and say, yeah, that guy won, this guy sucks. And your friends will be like, yeah, that guy won. But when it's just a judge, when you're judging, you're just sitting by yourself and you're just judging what you see. And hopefully, and the UFC, I know the UFC has their judges with screens and all that stuff. They're good. But it's really just by yourself. So I think it's not so much that the judging is bad, when I don't want to say that without saying there's been bad decisions. There clearly has.
There clearly has.
But I'm saying I think it's more of a reality check that people don't have the groupthink when they're judging because it's just their opinion. They're just turning in their thoughts of how they saw it. And then they can go see someone later, and someone will be like, how'd you see it that way? And maybe that discussion plays like that. And maybe that discussion would happen the same way if they were just sitting there watching the fight, then and there with their friends. But I think it just shows that by yourself, people are much more open with what they like. Like, no, I don't see this as winning a fight. Funny thing, too, on the Facebook, I just put up a montage video of Cecil Peoples, referee Cecil Peoples.
Oh, Christ.
That someone made. And one of the things was that he said about Machida and Shogun was when the first fight, when everyone was saying Shogun probably won, he said, leg kicks don't finish fights. So that's why I didn't...
Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo.
But what I'm saying is, when it's just one dude by themselves... real opinions come out because he was like, well, what? He was defending his position, and his position was leg kicks don't finish fights. I'm like, have you heard of Boss Room?
have you seen these guys?
What? But yeah, so to answer your question, see, what can be done about the judging? I don't necessarily know it's the judging's bad. I think it's just more individual, and when it's just 3 people's opinions, then those 3 opinions happen to really matter. That's my opinion.
And that was the firing line, everybody. And remember, in the future, if you want to ask Johnny Wall a question, just email me, shro@srmma.com. Back to you, Johnny.
Well, that's going to get us into the UFC on Fox coverage. Let's hear some highlights before we dive right back into some more.
Benson Henderson versus Gilbert Melendez. These guys, it went down to the wire. Dominic.
I mean, this fight was just the way I somewhat pictured it. I figured Gilbert was going to pressure the entire fight. Ben was going to have to figure out some way to deal with that pressure, and he did. He took out the lead leg of Gilbert Melendez, and that was the idea. Right here, you see him landing that straight left. That's a big weapon for a southpaw. I also like how he beat up that back leg of Gilbert. Anytime Gilbert took a step back. Look at these scrambles that are created. Round 2 that comes up. You see a lot of exchanges in the pocket. Gilbert really tries to bring it. Something that Ben does real well is goes straight in with those elbows. He lands some huge elbows on Gilbert in that second round and even into this third round. You really start to see the momentum switch right here in this round when you start seeing the leg kicks of Ben Henderson that we all know so well landing very heavy. Huge elbows landing down the middle, and that leg kick is incredible the way he throws it. He's hit it on everybody he's fought, gets the top position, ends the round, beating down Gilbert Melendez from the top.
You know, and I really think it was the championship rounds where the champion turned up the heat, and that's where he saw a little bit of increase in his pace, and he knew that this was a closer fight than maybe he even expected. What I was very impressed with was not only the pace of Gilbert Melendez, his ability to stifle the takedowns of the champion. We have not seen anybody do that. Ben Henderson does most of his best work from on top. Tonight he had to do it with his strikes, and he did it in the championship rounds to win that title.
Absolutely, and the crowd here very split between the two. Benson Henderson has never lost inside the octagon.
Now, here's a question I wanted to ask you. Benson Henderson has not lost inside the UFC. He's won his last 8 fights in a row. And he has yet to finish one of those fights. But he's the lightweight champion. He's beaten top guys, right? He's lightweight champion. George St. Pierre gets grief all day, every day for not finishing guys, and he hurts them badly. And Melendez didn't look hurt like real bad at any point in time of the fight. Obviously, he got beat up. They both did. But it didn't look like any point in time of the fight that Melendez was like probably going to be out of it. And GSP has hurt some guys where it looks like they're real close. John Fitch, even though he didn't knock him out, he dropped him like 75 times. Point being, question. Why do you think Benson Henderson doesn't get slack for not finishing fights? But guys like GSP, who win even more, get a bunch of it.
Before you even finished your sentence, I was instantly thinking, GSP gets tons of crap, and I haven't heard anything about Benson Henderson getting in.
All decisions in the UFC, not one finish.
And shoot, you know what? I have no clue why he's not. Because when you think about it, the pace of both fighters, both GSP and Henderson, it seems to be about the same. Perhaps because Henderson is spending more time standing and throwing strikes, and GSP is on the ground, especially a United States audience. Stand them up! I mean, crikey, man. The people just don't understand the importance of grappling and ground and pound.
Way to throw crikey in there, though. Just saying.
I had to. I just had to. I'm so perplexed. It called for a crikey on this one. So I think maybe that's the reason, is that Henderson is on his feet more and GSP is on the ground.
He's clearly dominating the guy. Or I don't want to say dominate. He's clearly bigger and usually stronger.
For that weight class.
Yeah, and he definitely seems to nullify anything the other guy really does. So that's fair, but he doesn't finish fights either. So, I mean, if that's going to be a criticism, it's got to go with everybody. And if it's not going to be a criticism, then shut up for everybody.
You would think so.
Well, you're here on the 40th, the best 40th show, period, the Verbal Scrap Podcast, 40th episode. If you like what you're hearing, you can check us out on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at SRMMA Tweets and on Facebook, facebook.com/SRMMA. This episode is also sponsored by MMA Gold. Check out MMAGold.com for more information. Any of the merchandise purchased from their store, including shirts, gear, beanies, goes right back into fighters. They're a full-service fighter management and apparel company, so check them out at MMAGold.com. We'll get back into some UFC on Fox 7 coverage. First, I want to get into some MMA World Series of Fighting news. Angel Deonda, the Tai Chi Palace light heavyweight champion, he recently got signed over with MMA World Series, and he's going to be fighting Tyrone Spong in Spong's second MMA event, but he's a decorated kickboxer, 60-plus wins. He's going to be fighting June 14th, and we had an opportunity to speak to him, so let's hear what he had to say. It's Jay Watt from SRMMA.com. We're on the Verbal Scrap Podcast talking to World Series of Fighting fighter Angel Deonda. How you doing today, knowing that you're going to be having another big fight coming up, and it's going to be on national television, sir?
I feel pretty good, man. I just can't wait to fight again, and it's already been a while, so I just want to get back in there and have some fun again.
Well, I wanted to ask you, this fight's going to be in Vegas. I mean, what are your thoughts about being in a city that most people see as the fight capital of the world?
It feels good, man. I always wanted to fight in Vegas. Always wanted to make it out there to fight because that's where all the best fights happen. So it feels good. I feel like a big step up in competition and a lot more exposure now that I'm going to be fighting in Vegas.
Well, you're going to be fighting June 14th on the World Series of MMA card. They're going to have Fitch versus Berkman on there, Gracie versus Huckabee. It's going to be stacked. You're going to be fighting Tyrone Spong. I mean, he's obviously a respected kickboxer that everyone knows. He's recently made his way into MMA. I mean, what do you think about him as an opponent?
I think he's a beast, man. He's a pretty solid dude. I've seen some of his kickboxing fights, and then he goes hard as soon as the fight starts all the way to the end. So I'm going to have my hands full June 14th whenever that bell goes off.
Well, Spong was able to earn a KO in his first fight for World Series of Fighting. I mean, what does it mean to you that the World Series of Fighting thinks highly enough to put you with this guy? I mean, just being in the same cage with guys, they gotta see you as that same talent. So I mean, what does that ever cross your mind? Do you ever think about those things?
No, not really. I know that I'm a pretty good striker. I know that he's got a lot more credentials behind him to be a pretty good striker. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty evened up matchup. I mean, he's only had one MMA fight, but none of my fights have really went to the ground or I've been on the ground, so it's going to be a pretty good stand-up fight.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. I mean, your last 8 wins have all come by TKO. Your biggest one yet, in my opinion, was the TPF light heavyweight title, Anthony Ruiz. I mean, you definitely have hands. Do you feel like maybe some people that don't know you might underrate you just because they know Spong? I mean, do you have to know that on the feet, you and Spong might have similar game plans, but on the ground, do you feel like you might be more dominant? Is that where you see this one going for you, or you want it to be a stand-up affair?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be a stand-up fight. And if we went to the ground, I'm pretty sure I'm a lot more dominant than Spong on the ground because he's been training for kickboxing these last 5 years, and I've been training MMA these last 5 years. So he's trained with better guys, but not better guys, but he's trained with high-quality guys, but that doesn't make him a high-quality MMA fighter. He could be, beating the shit out of these guys, or these guys can be beating the shit out of him, which I think they're doing because he's a really good kickboxer. I think he trains with a good camp, and they're getting kickboxing from him, and he's picking up little pieces here and there to keep him on his feet. But it's gonna be a stand-up fight. I don't want to take him down and have people be like, "Oh, Angel only beat this guy because he took him to the ground." If I knock out Tyrone Spong, then people are really going to know that I got some stand-up, and I come from a great camp that has really great stand-up because we got a lot of really good fighters at last stand that beat me up and get me real ready for this fight.
Well, in many people's opinion, your last fight against Anthony Ruiz really kind of put you out there as definitely being a guy that shouldn't get underrated in fights. I mean, what did you think about winning the Tachi Palace title, and then the fact that they went under, and now they're going to be coming back and they're going to be having events in the fall? I mean, have you thought about defending your title in the future there, or is your contract with the World Series kind of stop you from doing that? Is there any conflict with those two?
I'm not sure. If World Series will let me go over there and fight, and I'd be more than willing to go there and defend my belt. And felt good winning this title for Tachi, man. I mean, the first fight I've ever been to was at Tachi, and second fight I've ever been to was at Tachi, and I've always wanted to fight for them. A lot of our teammates won titles there. Ronda Velasquez won a 135 title. Mike won. Mayday McDonald won the belt there. I feel like I wanted to win a belt there. That was, going to shoot me to the next level. And it got me with World Series. And I'm with a contract, but I think they're pretty flexible because they let Spong go and fight in Glory and come back to World Series. So I'm not sure if there's a problem there, but that's up to my manager and all that. But I'd love to go back to Tachi and fight local.
Well, one of the last things I wanted to ask you, you've been pulling off some victories over guys that have a lot going their way. Josh Appelt, you have a win over him, and he's been making waves in Bellator and doing well. Anthony Ruiz was flying all over the world, taking fights. You were able to beat him. You were able to get a big win against Spong in Las Vegas. I mean, that's got to put you on a whole nother platform of guys that maybe just aren't getting their due respect. I mean, do you feel like the biggest shows in the world can't help but notice you if you finish Spong?
Oh yeah, they're gonna have to notice me. I know everybody's got their eye out on this fight because of Tyrone Spong and his K1 credentials, but that's fine with me. I mean, he can bring the spotlight, but I'm gonna be the one, training my ass off for this fight. Hopefully he's training harder, because when I beat him, I don't want there to be no excuses. And I took him lightly, or didn't expect this, or didn't expect that, because that's MMA. Anything can happen in MMA.
Well, the last thing I wanted to ask you, do you have any final shout-outs for your team or anything like that before we let you go, sir?
Yeah, I want to thank my teammates at Last Stand. They're going to help me get ready for these next 7-8 weeks. Buddy Wallace, Quincy, Rudy, Mike, Justin, Brad, Nathan, Lamar, Sal, Law, all the guys that are in the gym with me every day. One of our trainers, Daryl Smith, Professor Tom, everybody, my family that supports me, my sponsors, Full Force Personal Training, Max Muscle, Baker Family Chiropractor, Hardy Meyer Chiropractor. There's a list that goes on, man. Everybody's been wanting to see me get to this spot, and I'm just glad to be there, and hopefully I can make everybody happy. And I'd like to thank my manager, Tom Call, for making this happen. You for, helping me push this media, srmma.com. I just want to thank everybody, man. I'm really grateful, and I appreciate everybody that's been behind me all the way to where I'm at now.
Well, you can find ticket information at WSOF.com for this June 14th battle. Going to be happening also on NBC Sports Network. I want to thank you so much for your time, Angel, and best of luck to you.
All right, thank you.
It's going to be happening June 14th on NBC Sports Network. Also, a little heads up for you guys around the Sacramento, NorCal area. April 27th, NorCal Combat's going to be having their next event. Going to be having a couple title fights out in Butte County. 145-pound title going to be between Jarrett Allen versus Tyler Holbrook. Also for 155 pounds, they're going to have Ashton Pierce taking on Rich Storley. The first NCC women's fight, Gabriela Rios versus Veronica Caruso. Idris Wasi also going to be taking on Javier Trujillo. So you got to check out NorCal Combat on Facebook. Get some tickets today. It's going to be happening April 27th in the Butte County area. You got to check it out. We're here talking UFC on Fox 7 with Shro in studio. How you doing, Shro?
I'm still doing fantastic.
Did you get a chance to check out good old Cormier Mir?
Cormier Mir, yes, I did, and Mir looked terrible for the amount of work he put in for this fight.
Well, we're going to talk more and see if you agree with Shro right after these highlights.
Former UFC heavyweight champ Frank Mir as he takes on Strike Force newcomer Daniel Cormier. Brian?
I'll tell you what, this was all about execution. You had Daniel Cormier coming in, giving up a lot of reach, height, and experience, but he executed flawlessly. He pressured Frank Mir, got it into the clinch, and controlled him time and time again against the cage, and showcased that he's not only one of the best wrestlers to ever come into the sport, but that he can strike. And look at the amount of power he generates in small spaces. He didn't give up any takedowns, which we expected, but he was able to control the bigger man against the cage.
Did Mir even try for takedowns?
I'm not sure Mir did try for takedowns, but what are your thoughts after, going the full 3 rounds? What'd you think about how Cormier started and how Mir finished?
Cormier just dominated, and then Mir's finish, I said this out loud just watching the thing alone with my dog. I was talking to my dog. I was like, Mir, where was this for the first 2 rounds, buddy? Because he did come out in that 3rd round. There was a few vicious knees in there. It looked like he was pushing the pace. Somebody forgot to tell him that the fight started 2 rounds earlier.
Well, it looked like Cormier was able to use his wrestling and strength to pin Mir against the cage a lot during the fight, and then he was able to get his strikes and uppercuts in real quick and sharp coming off of that and coming into that. And it looked like when Mir was his best, was actually at distance when he was striking. And, neither guy really wanted to go right for the takedown. Even if Cormier's got great wrestling, Frank Mir's a beast on jiu-jitsu. You don't just break Nogueira's arm not knowing anything on the mat. So, it seemed like a stalemate, and it was all about striking. And early on, Cormier got that striking. But what did you think that Frank Mir did good in the third round?
Pushing the pace. Maybe it's because Cormier got comfortable and it's like, yeah, I got this fight. Mir's not doing anything. That could have been a possible mindset for Daniel, but no, Mir came out, and I recall 2 or 3 very, very good knees. But then around again at the 250 mark or whatever, Cormier just again was like, no, it's time for Greco-Roman. I'm not losing this round or letting you try and almost break one of my limbs.
Well, last thing before we move on, real quickly, what do you think about Cormier and Vasquez, or do you think Cormier should make a drop down to 205? What do you think is the best bet for him moving forward?
I think Cormier looked fine right here at this weight if he keeps his conditioning up, because that was 3 long rounds of him, pushing the pace the entire time, and he seemed fine. He didn't seem gassed at any point, so I say keep going.
Well, you're on the 40th episode, the best 40th show, period, of the Verbal Scrap podcast, sponsored by Bomb First MMA Gear and Century MMA. You got to check those guys out. Bomb First always has some real fitted, clean shirts. You can check them out at all kinds of stuff locally, and they have their store here in Sacramento, so check them out. Bomb First. I wanted to ask you, my friend, what did you think about the preview of Diaz and Thompson? Did you know anything about Thompson yourself? Were you aware of what he had done coming into this fight, or was this your real first opening to it?
This was my first taste of Thompson, and I actually didn't see any of the pre-fight banter which comes with the Diaz brother. So I'm sure it was the classic amount of it. But Thompson came in, and his switching back and forth from southpaw to standard, I don't think Diaz had an answer for that. And it was just the entire time Thompson's elusiveness, pace, getting in, getting out, and throwing in those leg kicks every now and again. Diaz, I don't know if he ever had a chance in this one.
Well, for you guys that didn't have a chance to check it out, we'll listen to some highlights before we get to more.
Nate Diaz took on the punk Josh Thompson.
Man, Diaz was coming out pressuring hard in the beginning. Josh Thompson knew Diaz was going to do that. He had a game plan for it with that high kick. He lands it early in the round, and he sets it up again later on. Boom, there's another one he lands. And his scramble ability was incredible tonight. He got the inside trip, which he does so well. He's done that to everybody. Stayed out of the guard, hit the ground and pound on Diaz, didn't let him get any momentum the entire fight. Those elbows over the top were beautiful. They cut Diaz's eye, and then that head kick finally lands, and nobody sleeps Diaz like that. He leaned right into it, and it just puts him right out of his cell. He doesn't know what to do right there. Thompson goes for the kill and finishes Diaz on the ground.
And this actually threw the towel in.
They did, and this has been a long time coming for Josh Thompson. Years ago, his first stint in the UFC, he was considered the #1 lightweight in the world. He's been waiting a long time to work his way back here.
So what did you think about when Thompson was able to use his high kick? He landed it early in the fight, but then he landed it again later on when obviously the fight had gone on and a little bit of endurance might have been out of Diaz. What did you think about Thompson's stand-up, and what did you think about how Diaz went kind of early for the trash talk and trying to get into Thompson's head? Do you think it was effective?
Thompson's stand-up actually reminded me a lot of Dominic Cruz, a lot of movement in it, and you don't know where the strikes are coming. And for both the first round head kick that landed right in early on and the one that essentially set up the end, both of those, Diaz was actually ducking down and his momentum was going actually into the kick. So you could tell Diaz had no idea that those kicks were coming. So Thompson did exactly what he needed to do as far as stand-up. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that.
Well, also, I wanted to give you an opportunity once we got back to talk about your Team Alpha Male update. So first, we're going to get into some World Combat Series news. April 27th, they're going to be having their MMA Fit Expo, as well as their Combat Cage Fight Series. On the card, we got a few of the athletes talking to us about their upcoming fights. The WCS lightweight title will be on the line. JJ Okanovich, the current champion, will be defending it against Luis Vargas. We talked to both of them. Let's first hear the challenger Vargas and his thoughts about going for the title. It's Jay Watt from SRMA.com on the Verbal Scrap podcast. We're talking to Luis Vargas, going to be fighting April 27th, World Combat Series for the lightweight title. How you doing today, sir?
Pretty good.
Well, you're going to be fighting JJ Okanovich. He's going to be defending his title. What do you think about coming into this with an opportunity to get an amateur strap around your waist?
I think it's a pretty great opportunity for me. I think I'm ready for it. I've been training, pretty hard, and I've had a lot of help from my teammates and coaches, and just everyone around me. So I feel pretty good about this fight.
Well, you were able to pick up a TKO victory your last time out. I mean, tell us a little bit about how the fight went for you.
The last fight, I had my game plan, and me and my coaches and my teammates were, just practicing it the weeks prior to the fight, and then we went in there and I stuck to the game plan, and it worked. Just just how we talked about it, and I was gonna go off, aggressively, and I feel like I was. I need to be more cautious about how I do it, but it went pretty good because once I started, it just felt real good, actually connecting and actually getting in there. So it went pretty smooth, and then after that, it was just smooth sailing. He didn't really know what to do with my aggressiveness.
Well, as far as your opponent coming up into this fight, he's 7-2. His last loss was a split decision at the state championship, so he hasn't been defeated decisively in his career other than decision. I mean, what have you thought when you checked out his record? Have you been able to see any of your opponent?
Yeah, I know he's from the Bay Area, and I've seen a couple of his fights. We've been on the same cards, and he looks good. He trains hard, and I know all that. But I'm just hungry. I just want to win, and I don't really care who it is. I just want to go out there and fight my battle, and hopefully walk home with that belt.
Well, how has training been going into this camp for you? I mean, how is MMA fitting into your life, your career? I mean, where does it place as far as a priority for you? What are you doing?
It's pretty high up there. I have a wrestling background, so I'm usually wrestling if I'm not doing MMA, and so it blends in really well, and so it just goes.
Well, as far as the title's concerned, a lot of people celebrate a different way. I mean, I know you might not want to think about winning it before you actually have it, but have you thought about, celebration? Are you a stay-at-home with the family guy, or are you going to go out and party if you were able to take this home?
I think there's going to be a lot of family members and a lot of people there watching and supporting me, so hopefully, we could all get together and go do something, as a group and just celebrate it, have a good time.
Well, that's a major question I have for you. I mean, have you thought about how this fight might play out? Have you played it out in your mind a few times? And if so, how do you see it going?
Yeah, I think about this, all day, every day. That's one of my things that's always on my mind. How it's going to work out, different scenarios, and I try to incorporate that in my practices. I think, okay, if he does this, what am I going to do? How am I going to counter his this or that? So I think I'm ready. I'm just I got to be cautious, and I got to know what to expect and what to go for.
Well, do you have any final shout-outs, any teammates, any family members you want to give thanks to before we let you go, sir?
Yeah, I want to thank all my teammates, all of my tribal family. There's a lot of support right there. We've been building up our group, and last year and this year, we're getting up there pretty high. Just last week, one of my teammates won a belt at Born to Fight, and he worked very hard, and everyone was there helping him, supporting him, and the same way with me. So I want to thank everyone at Tribal and everyone that comes and helps me. My wrestling coaches. I have a lot of friends that are experienced and come in and help me, and all my family members for supporting me and helping me push and keep going with the sport.
Well, if you want to check out Vargas go for his lightweight title, and you're just checking it out on SRMA.com, right there, ticket information on our right sidebar. If not, go to WorldCombatSeries.com for more ticket information. April 27th. I want to wish you good luck, and I appreciate your time for coming on our show, Lewis.
Yeah, thank you.
The champion of the night, J.J. Okanovich, he's going to be defending his title against Vargas. We were able to catch up with him and see his thoughts about fighting in front of the hometown, so let's hear what the man had to say. Jaywa from SRMMA.com on the Verbal Scrap podcast talking to J.J. Okanovich, who's going to be defending his lightweight title April 27th at World Combat Series. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on the show. We were able to talk to your opponent. He seems like he's very excited for this match. I mean, how do you feel about having another defense coming up and being involved with an event that's going to have such a large amount of things going on? They have an expo going before and a lot of big-name amateur talent on their fight card.
I'm just excited to fight. It's been a while since I've been in that cage. been a couple months. You know, I'm used to fighting every month, so I'm just really excited to step in there and get dirty. You know.
Well, your opponent, Luis Vargas, he was actually on the last card you were on. Did you get a chance to see any of his fight?
No, I didn't. Usually I'm in the back, so he probably fought before me because I was the main event. But you know, I've heard a lot about him, so I'm ready. So I'm getting my cardio up, and I'm ready, whoever it is. You know.
Well, as far as your career is concerned, I mean, your last loss was a split decision at the state championships, and besides that, I mean, you've been pulling out submissions and wins for the last couple of months. I mean, what do you think about the pace of your career and how your 7-2 record is representative of where you're at right now?
I think my career is going pretty good. You know, I've only been fighting for a year, and I already have this is going to be my 10th fight. So I already have 7 wins, and the last fight was a close loss. And, you know, I just got to keep working in the gym and just keep improving. That's all I can really do.
Well, have you found any perks from being a champion in an amateur event? Have you gotten any respect whatsoever from your gym mates or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. You know, it's really not so much a belt. It's really the hard work that I put in. Yeah, it's just all about the hard work you put in. The belt doesn't really mean anything.
Well, you being from the Bay Area, the fight's going to be down in San Jose. I mean, what's the fanfare and family going to be in attendance? I mean, you're going to have a lot of fans cheering for you?
Oh, yeah. You know, I've got a big family. I've got a big fan base here in San Jose. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to walking out and hearing that fan, you know, hearing the fans.
Well, as far as the title fight's concerned, just a few things for you. I mean, he's only had 2 amateur fights, and you've had 9. I mean, do you think that experience is going to be the deciding factor, or do you feel like there are areas that you feel you can just supremely dominate?
No, I don't think it's going to be a factor for him. I mean, I've had 2 fights or 3 fights when I had my first title shot. So, you know, I'm preparing like it's his, you know, 10th fight too. So, I mean, there's no reason why he should look at it that way either. So I'm going in there preparing my whole game, you know, from my wrestling to my jiu-jitsu. From what I hear, he's a wrestler. So I've got my takedown defense prepared, and I'm ready to brawl. So I'm ready for war.
Well, the last thing I wanted to ask you, I mean, do you see, as a fighter, differences between going for that title and then someone else coming in and you're going to be defending that title? Is there a different mentality, or is it all the same to you?
No, it's all pretty much the same. You know, I just prepare my whole game. You know, I like to go in the gym and work on all the aspects of the game. So really, there's no difference. Whoever it is, you know, I'm ready.
Do you have any final shout-outs before we let you get out of here?
Yeah, you know, I want to thank all my sponsors. I want to thank Fight Logic, Cali Muscle, Rock Tape. I want to thank my nutritionist. I also want to thank all my fans out there, you know, that put me on the map. So, and I also want to thank you for putting me on this podcast. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. If you're on srma.com right now and you want some ticket information, check out our right sidebar or check out worldcombatseries.com for more tickets. April 27th, going to be defending that lightweight title. I want to thank you so much for your time, JJ.
Hey, thank you.
Also on the card, Jason Rice is going to be fighting for a 135-pound title against Isaiah Gonzalez. We were able to catch up with Rice and see his thoughts about his upcoming World Combat Series fight, so let's hear him. It's Jay Watt from SRMA on the Verbal Scrap Podcast. We are talking to Jason Rice. You're going to be fighting for the 135-pound title April 27th. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Looking forward to the event. I mean, no training's got to be coming to the real bump in the grind for you, knowing it's a week out. I mean, what do you think about this coming matchup and the opponent, Isaiah Gonzalez?
I'm excited for it. I think it's a great opportunity for me. I know he's got a lot of experience. He has a lot of fights under his belt. But I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the show, ready to do it, ready to get it done with.
Well, you know, coming into this fight, you've been able to pull out some decision victories. You haven't yet pulled out the finish. I mean, is that something that you would really be looking for in this particular fight? Or, I mean, I know the rounds are shorter for the amateur affairs. What are you most looking forward to in this coming about?
To me, I love putting on a show. I'm ready to fight at any time. I'm ready to go however long the fight goes. I train at the best camp in the world with American Kickboxing Academy, and they train us to be able to go as far as we can. So, I mean, if the fight ends quickly, it does. If it doesn't, I'm ready to go as long as the fight takes.
Well, you know, being with
both my fights.
Being with AKA, you know, I have to give you a quick little tangential thing. You had to check out the Cormier fight, yeah?
Yeah, I did.
What did you think about your boy and how he was able to deal with Frank Mir?
I think he did very well. I think Mir didn't have anything for him. and there's a lot of fighters out there that take Cormier very lightly that shouldn't.
Well, coming into this bout, you'll be able to pick up an amateur title if you're able to pull out the victory. I mean, have you thought about any respect or anything that belt might bring you, or do you just see it as another step in the stones moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's just another step in the road. To me, I've never looked at amateur belts or anything as something like I'm shooting for. I mean, I want to go pro, and I'd like to be a pro champion. I think being an amateur champion is just something that, gets you on that road and gets you noticed in order to go that way.
So you definitely are viewing MMA as a career path for you in the future.
I don't necessarily look at it as something that I look at it as something that I'm willing to do if that opportunity comes. Yes.
Well, do you feel like World Combat Series, they've been able to host the amateur state championships like that? I mean, what do you see them doing as far as giving you bigger, better opportunities?
I believe they bring a lot of opportunities to you. They have great sponsorships. They put on great shows. They put on big venues, which attract a lot of crowd and a lot of people in general. And for me, when I first met Gabe and Mark, they both, were very open with how they're fighting, with how they organize everything, and I was very interested in fighting for them. It sounded really good.
Well, last thing I wanted to ask you, have you been able to visualize this in your head, or do you prefer not to think about how the fight may go?
I think I can't really say I visualize it in my head, but we train for all opportunities. We train for all aspects of the fight, for anywhere it can go. And that's why I'm grateful for the camp I'm in, because I'm able to train with some of the best guys in the world that are able to just bring me there and bring me to a level of excellence.
Well, before we let you get out of here, we got to give you an opportunity to give thanks to anybody you like. Anyone in particular you'd like to give a shout out to?
I'd like to thank my girlfriend, my teammates, all my friends, family, everyone that supports me through it, everybody at AKA that supports me, and World Combat Series for giving me this opportunity to fight for the belt.
Well, if you're on SRMMA, you can find ticket information on our right sidebar, or check out WorldCombatSeries.com for more. April 27th, 135-pound title fight. Jason Rice will be going for it. We wish you the best of luck, man.
Thank you.
If you like what you're hearing on the 40th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast, you're more than welcome to contribute to SRMA.com. If you're interested in becoming a writer or photographer, go ahead and email me, jw@srma.com. We'd love to see what you can do and talk to you more about getting you involved in our coverage. Shro, I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about the Team Alpha Male update you got and how proud you were of our boys. So go ahead and set it up for the fans and let them know what you're thinking.
Our local boys here in Sacramento have clearly been eating their Wheaties, because for a fight camp that has been known for their wrestling, for both Dillashaw, or for all three, Dillashaw, Benavidez, and Mendez, to come out and finish their fights KO fashion, that was unbelievably impressive to me. And that's just, for me, that just, as a Sacramentan, that makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
I wanted to ask you, is Sacramentan the real term?
I have no clue.
Okay, I was just wondering, because I didn't know if I should call myself that later, or like...
Sacramentite?
And if someone said, hey, you're a stupid Sacramentite. I'd be like, well, I think that's true. I've been listening to the Verbal Scrap. You can check us out on Twitter at SRMMA Tweets, on Facebook, facebook.com/SRMMA. We've been talking about all kinds of stuff today. KOTC coverage, World Series of Fighting, UFC. The last thing we're going to leave you with was an interview clip from Chad Mendez, who was also victorious, as Shro just pointed out. So let's hear Mr. Mendez, and then we'll finish up our show.
Hey, if I can keep it that way every fight, I'm going to do it. It just feels good, busting your butt throughout a whole camp. That was 3 camps back to back to back with me. Opponents falling out, people getting hurt, whatever's happening, and, couldn't find opponents to fill in, and so I just kept training. So my hat's off to Elkins. The guy's a tough guy. I took that on 4 weeks' notice. I'm going to go have a beer with the guy right now. I think so, but, ultimately that's up to the UFC. I think I'm the #1 contender. We got some tough guys in the division, but, I feel like I could beat them. But like I said, that's up to the UFC. I'd like to fight for that title sooner than later. So, I saw the mistake that I made. It was short time, and, we've worked on it, and I've made a conscious decision in my mind to not do that when I'm sparring and when I'm training. So, overall, I thought I was winning the first round. I just made a mistake right at the end, and I'm going to go in there. I'm going to train like I do for every fight. Aldo is evolving just like I'm evolving. Every camp's going to have to be a little bit different, but overall, I'm going to stick to what I do best. We got Dwayne Ledwig in there. We got, I think that was the missing puzzle piece for our team. Just coming up short for those title shots, and now that he's in there, we've been killing it, and it's helped our team out tremendously. So I'm pumped. Right. He's a huge asset for our team. He's a great coach, great person. The system that he has is something that we just lacked. We never had the head coach. Someone that is as passionate as he is about the sport, about teaching, about us learning. And that, I think that's huge for any type of sport. We didn't have that. Now we do, and like I said, I think that was the missing puzzle piece, and it's been showing. So,
last thing I wanted to ask you, Shro, before we let you go, UFC 159, Jones and Sonnen. I have to get your thoughts. It's going to be coming up on the 27th as well. The fans are going to be listening to us next time after this event goes down. So, what's your prediction, sir?
Oh man, a prediction? Crap.
Yeah, it's called being on the spot.
Well, my prediction is, and actually my advice for Chael Sonnen is to take the fight to the ground and actually work from a high guard, throwing strikes down. Don't get actually down into full guard. Get into a standing guard and throw strikes from above. Don't let those lanky John Jones limbs get around you, and just try and wear them out.
And no spinning back fists.
No spinning back fists. God.
No more of those.
It was cute that you tried, but no more of those.
Well, the 40th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast, you can download us on iTunes. Check us out on Twitter at SRMMA Tweets. If you send us a tweet now, just because you're listening, you can win MMA Gold gear by giving us the hashtag MMA Gold as well. That's right. Hit us up on Twitter at SRMMA Tweets with the hashtag MMA Gold. You can win some stuff. For all the fighters that have been talking to us and are out there and that are willing to engage us and give us the opportunity to speak to them and tell their stories, we really appreciate your time. To all the fans that share us and listen, I want to thank you for checking us out and sharing the word around about what we got going on. If you like the Verbal Scrap Podcast, I know you're staying tuned on srmma.com to all the stuff we got going on. And to companies that are interested in promoting or advertising, you're more than welcome to hit us up. info@srmma.com and see what other things we can get involved with. Any last thoughts or shout-outs to my man Shro before we finish the show?
Just wanted to remind everybody that our debut segment, The Firing Line, if you guys want to throw Johnny Waugh some questions, don't forget to ask or send me an email. Send the actual subject line, just firing line, and send it to Shro, SCHROE, @srmma.com, and we can pick Johnny Waugh's mind in the future.
Well, you can check out MMAGold.com, MidtownVillageCafe.com, and WCNStores.com for more of our sponsors' information. You've been listening to the 40th episode of the Verbal Scrap Podcast. If you are listening to us now, you're checking out Dead Air.